Howdy everybody, we're back with some more RPG horror stories. Let's jump into it. Our first story today is going to be by CG Bard, usually, and it is titled, I Accidentally Blew Up My Partner's D&D Group. Important context, I'm a trans man, my partner is non-binary, but presents as their birth gender and generally doesn't mind when people refer to them in masculine terms, but they do prefer gender-neutral terms. My partner's last boyfriend was also trans. We live in the United States in a very conservative state. So, when I started dating my partner, they introduced me to their D&D group consisting of fake names obviously, Sven, Bob, Justin, Gabby, and Matt. Sven hosts at his house, and my partner was providing transportation for Matt and Bob. Gabby and Justin live together, and Justin drives the two of them. The group was meeting every other Saturday, and every week on either Tuesday or Thursday due to my partner's work schedule. Due to meeting so often, they had several games running concurrently with different DMs. At the time I met them, my partner and Sven were taking turns DMing. One day during a break, Bob started talking about Pathfinder. I've done a one-shot in Pathfinder, but my previous group had dissolved due to scheduling conflicts before we got to do a full campaign. I'd really liked the system, so I talked about my limited experience, and between me and Bob, we got the group excited to try Pathfinder. Bob enthusiastically volunteered to run a game for us since he had the most experience with the system. Now, I personally have never been with a group that runs several games at once. I can't imagine how difficult it must be to keep track of everything. I'm glad that they're able to, though, and I'm sure the switching out of DMs on a consistent basis helps to keep things fresh and to help people from not suffering from DM burnout. Now, I love when a group talks about a system and gets the entire group excited for it. I had this happen for me and my group with Cyberpunk Red and Star Wars 5e, both of which were a ton of fun to not only play in, but also to run as a DM. Anytime a group is learning a new system, it is reasonable to expect questions and the table moving a bit slower, but there still needs to be some semblance of table etiquette. There were a few times when my turn in combat would be interrupted or delayed by someone else asking complex questions about how their abilities worked, with multiple follow-up questions. A couple of times this would have resulted in part or all of my turn being skipped if I hadn't spoken up about it. Okay, learning a new system can be quite daunting. It is super important that the DM, GM, whoever, keeps an eye out to make sure someone doesn't get interrupted or has their turn forgotten about. Sometimes that means stopping someone from asking a question so that the current turn can get finished out and then allowing them to ask their question. It helps if the entire table is on board with this and is pretty chill. It doesn't hurt. Just as an FYI to everybody when you're starting, hey, this is all our first time playing Cyberpunk Red. We all aren't going to know how to do this, so just bear with me as I'm kind of learning this fully as the DM. Bear with everybody else as they're learning. Let's just make sure to take our time with it. We're just going to slowly work through it and we're going to have fun. We're going to learn the system. Just make it nice and casual. Just kind of lay out some rules. Nothing super concrete or very aggressive. Just being hey, let's just all gonna chill and we're gonna have fun and we're gonna learn a new system. We're all gonna be confused together, don't worry. Something like this happening once or twice isn't a big deal, but it was happening every session and Bob was just allowing it. He'd acknowledge that it was my turn, Sven would ask a question about one of his abilities, and they'd talk for 10 to 20 minutes before I could even do anything. Other times we'd be doing downtime activities, and Bob would start going around the table asking what people were doing for their downtime. He'd get to me, and Justin would loudly announce what he wanted to do before I had a chance to speak. Bob would then work with Justin to resolve his downtime activity, and it was 50-50 whether he'd come back to me or not. I had to remind him that I existed. While I understand that part of the issue was the other people interrupting, I firmly believe that maintaining table etiquette is the job of the GM/DM, and since Bob was actively participating in the poor table etiquette by enabling these interruptions rather than telling these people to wait their turn, I chose to address it directly with Bob. After the game, I sent him a message over Discord outlining the issue, giving specific examples from that game session, and letting him know that it was making me not enjoy the game because I felt talked over and ignored, that I went to bed because I had work the next day. This is understandable. The entire table should be mindful of this kind of etiquette, but the DM really is the one that leads things. They make actions and wants become real at the table. So they should be the ones leading the charge on people waiting or making sure that everybody has had a chance to do something. This can even just be asking after you think everybody's done, hey, has everybody had a chance to do some downtime or do what they were looking to do? Because sometimes keeping track of everything is tough, and that catch-all can kind of help you not miss people. Good, I know people are voicing their concerns. My hope is that they worded it to sound non-aggressive, but I think we're going to find out how that was interpreted quite shortly. Bob went ballistic. I woke up to multiple messages from him. The first one was saying how bad he felt that I was feeling this way and saying he didn't want anyone at his table to feel ignored. The next message was criticizing me for how I'd addressed it. He said I should have spoken up at the table, and messaging him after felt like an attack. The next few were talking about how he has so much trauma and PTSD from past experiences and how I should have given him more grace, accusing me of ignoring him and telling me that he was physically ill and unable to sleep until the issue could be resolved. I messaged him back to clarify that my intention was not to attack, just to make him aware of the situation, and it was up to him how he wanted to address it. I even told him that if he didn't want to do anything, that I'd accept suck it up and deal with it as a viable answer. He sent more messages, still emphasizing his own mental health issues, the physical effects that this was having on his body, and more criticism of how I handled confrontation. Specifically, he brought up a past argument we'd had regarding his treatment of trans people, an argument that I thought was resolved, that had absolutely no bearing on the current conflict, so for the sake of context, here is that. Okay, before we even get to that part, it does sound a little bit like Bob is projecting here. I'm not saying Bob can't have issues or past trauma from past experiences that would cause him to react a certain way, but it does seem a bit extreme that this caused him to not be able to sleep and caused him to be physically ill, unless OP was calling him a monster for not allowing them to have a turn or hurling very extreme accusations. For example, if they had said something along the lines of, like, you must be a transphobe for having skipped over me, like, Bob is very clearly overreacting. But again, I'm not 100% sure exactly what was written, but it was clearly not interpreted the way that OP would have preferred or meant it to be interpreted. Also, bringing up a past argument seems like he is really taking this personally, and he's kind of just trying to fling mud back at OP defensively. But let's get back to whatever that argument was. I have a TikTok account. I use it pretty much as a screaming into the void outlet. I do talk about people in my personal life. I don't have a huge following, less than 5,000 people. I don't give identifying information. I don't give location information. I even occasionally switch up nicknames, so if someone who knows someone I'm talking about stumbles upon it, that would make it even harder to track who I'm talking about. I have talked on TikTok about Bob, specifically how he only refers to my partner's trans man ex-boyfriend with they them pronouns. My partner's ex exclusively uses he him. I had said that it bothers me because Bob talks about how my partner's ex was terrible and obviously hates the guy, and it makes me think that Bob only supports trans people that he likes. Degendering as a form of misgendering, so it is transphobia, a soft transphobia, but transphobia nonetheless. Bob found the video and we talked it out. Bob had tried to claim that he uses they them for everyone, but I called him out on the lie because he never uses they them for anyone else, not even my partner who actually likes they them. Bob finally agreed that he was only using it for certain people and said he'd do better. Later on, I'd heard him use they them for me. I exclusively use he him. Bob knows this. I just corrected him and moved on. But now I know that he simply doesn't see trans people as their gender. Okay, a little bit torn here. It's a lot. So I'm not saying this is right, but I can understand Bob's want to support their friend and not be respectful when talking about an ex-partner that treated their friend like crap. I can see their intention, not to be transphobic, but to support their friend by not being respectful towards somebody that was not respectful to their friend. Again, not saying this is right. I'm saying that I can understand it. I also can understand OP's issue with it. Now, I am not trans, so I don't really have to deal with being misgendered or really been in a situation where I've been actively misgendered or had somebody misgender me as an insult. When I have had it happen, to be honest, I just kind of think the person's an idiot and then I just move on with my life. But I can understand OP seeing anyone that misgenders a trans person as wrong and transphobic, as that is something that they very likely have had to deal with in their life. So it obviously is probably something very near and dear to them. Now, Bob fucking up pronouns on a regular basis with a gender neutral friend and also the OP here, that is crappy. Just like, if you're like, remembering a friend's pronouns is really not that hard. Just think hard, just don't fuck it up, apologize if it happens and move on. Like, as a friend, it's the least you can do is call somebody the way they want to be called. Back to the main story, Bob kept blowing up my Discord messages trying to guilt trip me for daring to have an issue, even going so far as to say that now he's lost all motivation to ever run the game. He was just thinking of canceling the game now. he didn't think he was cut out to DM, and claiming that he'd been pressured into running the game in the first place, which was very much not true. He was the one who brought up Pathfinder and volunteered to run a game so we could try the system. I kept emphasizing that I never meant to make him feel bad, just that I didn't want to be holding onto negative feelings without expressing them, that he can't address an issue he doesn't know about, and he was welcome to tell me to just deal with it. Eventually, he said he'd put some thought into how to address the table etiquette issue and asked me to reassure him that I still wanted to be his friend, which I assured him I did. Then he ghosted me for about a week. I reached out to him a couple times and got no reply. Our weekday game got canceled due to a couple of people running into issues, including him citing, quote, feeling very sick. Okay, Bob doing the whole guilt trip thing's really not cool. He's taking the request to rein in people talking over others way too personally. If somebody comes to you with an issue like this, it's not personal. It's that person trying to fix an issue with the game. Now, perhaps Bob's really bad at confrontation, so he's really just dreading addressing this issue and he's lashing out because of it. But if it's a table of friends, it should be very easy to approach it from and say, hey guys, hey y'all, I want to make sure everybody has a chance to speak or do actions. I need everybody to agree to stay quiet while someone else is having the spotlight or their turn so that everybody gets a chance. There's a good chance that no one is intentionally being rude or mean here. They're just very excited to play and they want to get to do stuff. Just correct and move on. It's very easy peasy. So, sick of Bob being dramatic as fuck about a very simple issue and refusing to engage with me on it, I made the decision that I was going to drop his game. I'd also been invited to join Sven's game and I'd been playing in my partner's game. I told the group I was dropping Bob's game. I wouldn't be joining Sven's after all, and I was genuinely on the fence about staying in my partner's game. I didn't call anyone specifically. I just said I don't feel like I have a voice at the table and I don't have it in me to fight to be heard. Gabby messaged asking what had happened, saying she didn't want me to drop out of it if it was an issue that could be fixed. Sven asked if we needed a session 0. Then Bob messaged saying, whatever it is, I'm sure we can work together to find a solution. I'm really excited to run my game and I'd miss you at the table. I lost my temper. Bob had a meltdown in my private messages for days before ghosting me for a week and told me that he was canceling his game altogether, and this is how he acts when other people can see. I didn't handle it well, but I also didn't handle it as badly as I wanted to. All I said was, where was his energy when I messaged you privately? And then I left the group chat. My goal was to make sure everyone knew he was the reason and force him to have to explain it. It didn't work. He refused to explain anything to them. Okay, Bob is definitely being a bit two-faced here, canceling the weekday game, but also bitching at OP for speaking up, while also publicly saying that he shouldn't quit. I don't necessarily think OP should have reacted the way they did, because it causes some issues that probably would have been better just being discussed, which it sounds like there was people attempting to make some corrections or suggesting another session 0 is a way to reset boundaries and rules that people think are being missed. It's not a bad idea. Them also kind of stating that hey, I don't want to play in this game anymore. I'm no longer in Sven's game. Also, I'm on the fence on even being in my partner's game. That also sounds very aggressive too. And sounds like it's a total withdraw from the group altogether, which would cause concern from people. But again, I'm not the one dealing with Bob acting this way and blaming me privately, but then acting two-faced in public or in a group chat. So, my opinion kind of varies on, in my opinion, the mileage should vary on grain of salt with me. Over the next couple of weeks, my partner and I met with the rest of the group, giving a very abbreviated view of the situation. The universal sentiment was, oh yeah, that's just how Bob is. We kind of put up with it because he's our friend, but we totally get why you wouldn't want to. Bob volunteered to drop out of my partner's game so I'd feel more comfortable staying. I dropped Bob's game and didn't join Sven's. My partner attended Bob's game on their own and came back afterwards telling me I was right about everything, and now they can't unsee all the glaring problems because now it's their turn to be used as the free-for-all Q&A session. A few weeks later, out of game, I shared a political post on Facebook, and Justin commented. I don't want to go into full details, but essentially Justin is a cisgendered heterosexual white Christian man and hates the idea that people exist who are more oppressed than him. He came onto my post, first spreading misinformation about certain policies, then after I corrected him with credible sources to back myself up, he attacked me for pointing out the ways that transgender people are being targeted and the ways that female body people are being targeted. He cussed me out, called me names, and informed me that any danger I was in was made up, whereas he had real worries, such as knowing people on Medicaid who would die if they lost their coverage. He then blocked me on Facebook and messaged my partner saying that I was toxic and he refused to deal with me. Okay, side tangent. I fucking hate Facebook. I really do. I used to use it when it first came out like freaking eons ago. And then I hated it once the older crowd started using it more. It went from a cool place that was a newer MySpace. I'm dating the fuck out of myself, by the way, by saying that website's name. If you know what MySpace is, how's your hip doing? Like, Facebook was a place where I'd post photos when I was in college, and it kind of turned from a cool place where I got to see like what my high school buddies and stuff were doing at college and whatnot, and I got to post like what I was doing and stuff, and it kind of turned into a cesspool of like angry political arguments and like family members judging each other and starting drama. So I just fucking hate Facebook. I don't use it anymore. Even for years. It's unfortunate that OP's partner is dealing with what OP was dealing with prior. Though my hope would be that them giving the lowdown on what the situation was would make everybody realize that they are talking over each other and that it is not helpful. To be honest, it probably would have been really, really, really good if everybody just sat the fuck down and had a conversation about not talking over each other. Another session 0 probably would have been very helpful. I showed my partner and the rest of the group the full exchange. They're all on my side and agree that Justin was incredibly out of line. For Sven and my partner, this was the last straw for Justin because they already didn't like him because he metagames, talks over people a lot, and has a nasty case of main character syndrome. Unfortunately though, Gabby has a medical condition that prevents her from driving, so if Justin isn't driving her to the game, she can't come. Pretty much the only reason they'd put up with him for so long was for her sake. So now Sven is starting a new game with just me, my partner, and Matt playing. The table feels very empty. My partner's game is over, Bob's game is over, Sven's original game is over. We're looking into possibly trying to recruit some new players at a local game shop, but it's hard because any new players have to be LGBTQ friendly, and this is not the most LGBTQ friendly area. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that Gabby is too far for anybody to drive out and grab. I can understand kicking Justin, they're rude. If you don't agree with somebody's politics online, just shut the fuck up. That's the easiest way to do it. I don't care what side of the spectrum it's on. Just be quiet. It's not worth it. People get really defensive over politics sometimes it's just not worth it. You might think it is, and that's great, and that's fine. But if you kind of want to keep your friends and can deal with political differences, just kind of deal with it. Like, if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say anything, you know? And this goes both ways, by the way. I don't care if you're a more American conservative leaning is the way to say it, because conservative in other countries means other things. But like, if you're more like right leaning in the US and you don't agree with what somebody left saying, like, just shut the fuck up, and, you know, vice versa. Sometimes it's not worth it. Sometimes you just need a space to just have fun, and bringing politics into it's not fun. To be honest, that's like the easiest thing to do. Other than that though, it sounds like Justin's a lot to deal with. The main character syndrome, the talking over people, just the various rude things, the metagaming, those are all understandably annoying deal breakers, and I assume people talked to him about it and he just didn't change. Hopefully they gave him a chance to change. We're just assuming, I'm gonna just ignore the fact that he's some uber mega Christian that hates LGBTQ people or whatever, but like, assume a politics side out of it. Like, if somebody is being like a metagaming, talking over people, like kind of douchebag, it does not hurt to just talk it out with them. Don't be aggressive. Just be like, hey, I notice you're metagaming quite a bit, like you're doing stuff your character wouldn't know how to do potentially, or hey, you're kind of interrupting other people. Can you kind of like allow other people to have a turn? It's hard for people to have a turn when you're talking over or taking the spotlight or something. And then if they don't change, obviously get rid of them. And then I can understand it also being hard to find like-minded players or players that are LGBTQ friendly in places where that sentiment isn't widely accepted. It's not something I look for in my groups personally, but a lot of my friends are, or at the very least they're allies. But I can also understand the need to make sure that like people kind of align in that way, just because you'll probably feel more comfortable at the table, especially if you're playing in person. You want to make sure you're feeling comfortable. So I can understand the difficulty in trying to find people. Perhaps moving online would help everybody out. I know it's less interactive and it's less fun because you're not like face to face with everybody, but then Gabby would probably be able to rejoin at least. Plus there'd be less travel time. You're not having to drive to some person's house. You kind of just hop online real quick and you can play potentially for longer, depending on like what your commute would be. So I may have accidentally destroyed my partner's group because I wasn't trained to look past the problem behaviors that everybody just kind of accepted because that's just how he is. My partner, Sven, Matt, none of them are blaming me, so I feel a bit better about the situation, but it still sucks. Edit to add additional context, my friends know about the TikTok and have the option to opt out. I don't talk about people who don't want to be talked about. Bob was fine with it until he wasn't, and the post where I was talking about his pronoun usage was essentially, I've noticed this problematic behavior from my friend and I don't think he's doing it maliciously, but I'm trying to figure out how to address it with him so he can do better moving forward. The conversation we had when he found the post was him apologizing and saying that he would do better. He didn't. Instead, he continued to misgender my partner's ex and began misgendering me. 2 people from the remaining group have reviewed the post and agreed that I have an accurate account of events. I know y'all don't want to take my word for it, but whatever, it's all I got. Another edit played last night was Sven, my partner, and Matt. Found out Bob's game is still going strong with Justin, Gabby, Matt, and Sven playing, so I guess that answers my question about how sincere he was being when he told me he was going to cancel it and never wanted to DM in the first place. But everyone still has games, some have 2. Matt's working on a campaign that he wants to run for both groups because he's been itching to DM and kind of wants to see how 2 different groups with wildly different playstyles interact with this world. And Matt's brother might even be joining the smaller table. All's well that ends well. This is just a weird thing here. Is anybody else weirded out that OP talks about their friends on TikTok but changes their names? Like, perhaps TikTok is the new blogging space in this sense, but the whole thing around that just feels a little odd to me because depending on how they do it, it sounds like they might be shit-talking people. This could be a generational thing again, too. TikTok really is not my thing. I'm a fucking gray muzzle in furry terms here. I'm closing in on 40 relatively next couple years, basically. I would personally be weirded out if a friend was potentially shit-talking me online. I'm not saying necessarily that OP is, but it just sounds, the way they've kind of worded the stuff they put on TikTok, it just sounds weird to me. I don't know, it weirds me out a little. Overall, though, this group sounds like it's a lot. I hope OP is able to find a few more players to join at their current table. I think games can be played with 3 people, but I personally like games with about 4 to 5 players. Like, that's my preferred number, so I understand their feeling when they say, 3 people, like, player-wise, feels like a kind of empty table, because it really is compared to a 4 or 5. But I'm glad it kind of seems like everything's working out in the end here. Hopefully it does continue to work out for everybody involved as well. Our last story is going to be from user Willow Ran and is titled Unkillable PC Breaks the Game with Homebrew Nonsense. I was telling the story to a friend and they suggested I post it here to share the hilarity with the wider community. The following takes place between levels 3 to 5 in a D&D 5e 2014 campaign. The 2014 5e rule set. The DM was open to people bringing in homebrew during character creation. It had to be vetted by them first. For most people in the party, this meant just not using homebrew because we were satisfied with existing character options. One guy, I'll call Bob, had some ideas that just couldn't be manifested through official stats. He showed the DM some homebrew, had that homebrew vetted, and was given the green light to make his character. This was, as it turned out, a decision so bad it can only be described as ridiculous. There was nothing in Session 0 that prepared anyone for any of this. It was not as the campaign was advertised. Bob's character was an immortal, automatically resurrecting mutant that consumed things to gain their power. For animate entities, so I think they mean living here, this would mean killing them, then absorbing their corpse. For inanimate things, it was more like Kirby eating whatever it wanted. The mutant was basically a bottomless bag of holding. Could also transform into anything it had eaten, and summon infinite familiars that could also transform into anything it had eaten. These were all features it gained from its species, let alone class levels. This is clearly not very well vetted. I'm a bit confused on how this got by the DM. How does immortal not trigger anything for that person? There is a world where you can make this weird amalgamation of a monstrosity work, but not anywhere near this extreme. I imagine you can see how this breaks the game. At this point, the party is level 3 and otherwise consists of a bard, rogue, wizard, and barbarian. The barbarian could punch someone in the face once per turn and would die if he took about 20 damage. The mutant could transform into an army and take a hit from God. Bob's backstory put a bounty on his head larger than the value of a nation state, but he asked us above table to trust him. He then proceeded to ignore anything we asked him to do, both in and out of character. They could do whatever they wanted, really, because they were immune to consequence, and they did whatever they wanted. As an example, Bob's PC must have eaten bombs before the campaign started because he decided to detonate an entire city square in the starting village to kill a peasant. Not like an evil BBEG insidious peasant, just a regular guy. This was played off for laughs. So the DM's okay with this. If people are going to go for full murder hobo in the first couple sessions of the campaign, I would be having a talk with them very seriously about consequences and overall the type of story that's being run here. Not that players can't do weird, out-of-pocket things, but there is a find out part after the fuck around part. Everything came to a head during an Ocean's 11 style heist where the entire party got together to raid a vault. We had our role, we all did our jobs, we get to the vault, we steal the MacGuffin amongst rising tension. Oh my, what a success. Until we learned that behind the scenes, Bob had infiltrated the vault by himself while the party was setting up. He stole everything that wasn't nailed down, summoned an equal number of clones, and then had them transform into replicas of everything that he'd stolen. He did not tell anybody this, so in the end the party went and staged a distraction, manipulated guards, pivoted when plans changed, and snuck into the vault to steal one of Bob's familiars. We pointed out how bullshit this was, and Bob relented. He agreed to retire the mutant and bring a more supportive character that would help the party instead of hindering us. The DM should not have allowed any of this. If somebody's just going to go ahead and go in and ruin everything, why not stop them? Tell them that this is a collaborative game, because D&D is a collaborative game. It's not a one-on-one game session here, and this is really quickly just turning into a one-on-one D&D game, it's just really quickly. His next character was also homebrew nonsense. He was invulnerable to damage, gave out plus 3d4 to every PC's ability check, attack roll, and saving throw. Cast 7th level teleport at will, and could heal the entire party of any missing hit points after every fight, without using any resources. He also regularly rolled 37 to 40 on initiative checks. The DM was somehow okay with this, despite everybody's shock and surprise, because we were at this point level 4. I kind of feel here like this has to be fake. There's no way a DM's okay with this. Does this DM just not give a rat's ass? Because if somebody came to me with anything like this, we'd be having a serious conversation about bringing a meaningful, actual, legitimately balanced character to the table, or just ask if they're fucking with me and yanking my chain. You have to have stakes in your games. If you cannot die, that removes a potentially huge and interesting stake for all players. This has to be fake, or this is the most brainless DM that ever has existed. Where's the character growth? Where does your character grow from when they're invulnerable to damage? Can cast teleport, which is an insanely high level spell at level 4, and they're also just willy-nilly adding 3d4 onto ability checks and saves and attacks, and they're also rolling 37 to 40 on frickin' initiative checks. During a puzzle fight sequence at level 5 now, he in a single turn teleported 15 feet, teleported 65 feet, used an action for an object interaction, teleported a PC across the battlefield, teleported a second PC across the battlefield, killed an enemy combatant by flinging them 20 feet through the air without casting a spell, making an attack, or having that enemy make any kind of save. At this point, as a point of comparison, the party's bard could cast slow, move 30 feet, give someone a bardic inspiration. The barbarian could punch somebody twice. I have no idea who designed any of this homebrew, and I have no idea how or why the DM allowed any of this. It obviously made the game completely unplayable, and I think absolutely qualifies as a D&D horror story. Okay, giving the benefit of the doubt that this isn't a fake story, this DM is frickin' brain dead. Just run. Run very far away, because this will not get any better. This DM is not balancing things. They are not considering the fairness of all players involved. They are allowing another player to preempt and overrule the other players by some shady sneaking ahead of time and BOP role play. Anyone at a table like this just needs to run, or at the very least call their DM out on this. This type of balancing is not fair for everybody involved, and it's going to make the dynamic of the entire table not enjoyable for the entire playthrough. Alrighty guys, that is going to be it for me today. Thank you guys all for hanging out. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, like the video if you're enjoying it, drop a comment down below. I'd love to know your thoughts on either the story we talked about or just how your role-playing experiences are going throughout the week. I'd love to hear about that in those comments down below. If you're interested, I do stream on Twitch throughout the week and weekend. Links are also in the description. I'll see you guys all in the next one though. Bye-bye everybody.